President Lambertz. Thank you for accepting us. I would like to start our interview with a question about how EU just approaching citizens. Citizen regions are part of the EU democratic foundation, yet there is a rift gap, some say growing day by day, between the EU and its citizens. Do you agree that the new working plan is needed, a bottom-up approach, and would you like to talk us through how EU will be getting closer to citizens?
First of all, it is a fundamental aspect of the European Union, the third dimension, regions and cities, with the citizen living there. And it is very important to stress the importance of this third dimension, because it is the only one where things really happen. They don't happen in Brussels or in Strasbourg or in Luxembourg. They always happen there where people are living. And it is also correct to say that we have a gap in reality, but especially also in the mind of the citizens. And so it is urgent to change this situation. Europe is very important for the daily life of citizens, and it will be even more important in the future, because all great challenges of our time need European action, and even worldwide action, but certainly a European action. If we speak about digitalization, about social justice, about climate change, about demographic issues, we always need a European framework, and we need a very operational European policy system. And it is a great challenge to raise the participation of people in this system. The President of the European Commission cannot phone each morning to every one of the 500 million inhabitants, even not to the 100,000 mayors. But the citizens and the mayors know the best what happens on the ground. And so we must find a way to bring the two levels together and to establish a permanent communication. And that is a complicated challenge, but it is absolutely necessary if we want to raise trust in the European Union.
Let's talk in detail about the three guiding principles for bringing the EU closer to the citizens, giving us specific examples for Greece, Italy and Spain, because they are the northern actually countries of the Europe, and how we could achieve a permanent dialogue for the best common future. How are cities testing new ways to tackle local challenges?
There are many possibilities, and we have also great experiences. A great number of dialogues was organized in the past, and we can evaluate a little bit what happens. It is important to adapt the methodology to the special situation in each part of Europe. Perhaps the citizen dialogue in Finland is not the same as in Greece, but it's always the same challenge. Give the possibility to the citizens to speak, to explain what they need and what they want. How can we do it? I think we have three conditions that are very important. First, we must correctly select people. It must be possible for everyone to participate, and sometimes random systems are the best ones to make a good selection. Then you must give the necessary information. You cannot decide and go into a deliberative process without information. It must be done carefully on an objective way. And then you must also have a correct discussion process. people who participate on citizen dialogues must also have the possibility to develop a dynamic between them. Often they don't know each other, and it is even interesting if they don't know each other. And then they can construct something together. And the last condition is the most important. We must really have a look at the consequences. If there are conclusions, it is absolutely necessary that something happens after the dialogue with these conclusions, and people need also feedback. Perhaps each proposal will not be realized so as it was proposed, but it is absolutely necessary that people know why and why not.
How can we anchor EU policies locally? Let's talk again about Greece, Italy, and Spain in order to assist them fighting, for example, brain drain.
The best way to anchor European policy locally is to cooperate intensively with the local and regional authorities. They are the closest to the people. And then we must see what challenges we have to resolve. And that is a broad package of possible issues. Brain drain, for example, is a very specific one for the eastern and southern part of Europe, where economic conditions are a little bit more complicated, and where we have also some other problems on certain moments on the level of the society. It is interesting to have the possibility to travel around Europe, to have the freedom to go work where you want. But if it is a real drain, then it is a very bad situation. Even if you have interesting economic consequences, people who was living their country bring money back, but it is not the best way to make development. People must work there where they are living, and it must be a little bit balanced around Europe.
Also, the three countries are facing also high rates of unemployment, and of course we have, the problem with climate change. It's also something that we need to anchor EU policies in local level.
Of course, climate change is even another and more fundamental issue. The economic one you can't change easily by economic development. But climate change is a more global aspect, and we must do what we can against climate change, but we must also be well prepared for the consequences.
Last question for you. We read a Pew research that's not the only one, actually. It shows Europeans tend to describe Brussels as inefficient and intrusive, and in particularly, they believe that EU is out of touch. A median of 62% says it doesn't understand the needs to citizens. How do you plan to tackle this? How do you plan to put EU values into practice and show the results to the citizens? What are actually the steps for a better communication of cohesion policy?
Fundamentally, you have two objectives to realize. If you want to bring European Union closer to the citizens. The first challenge is to take into account the implementation on the field before you begin to decide something in Brussels or in Strasbourg. Often people are thinking about solutions, and then they are sure to have find the best one in the world, but it must also be possible to be implemented. And you can only implement correctly decisions if you take into account the great regional and local diversity in Europe. So it is a first important work on the moment you are reflecting about solutions. The second aspect is the choice of the issues. you must make the right choices, and you have to take into account what is important for the people on the ground if you make the European priorities. If the European priorities are not in concordance with what people want on the field, then you will never have a close relation. You will have an opposition and conflicts. And you have also to inform, to discuss, to bring the European issues really in the mind and in the heart of the people.
President Lambertz, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks.